President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi. I would now like to request BUI student Hafiz Muhammad Taqi for a recitation from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا. وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما. ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير. وكان الإنسان عجولا. ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير. وكان الإنسان عجولا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Indeed, this Quran guides to that which is most suitable and gives good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, and that of those who do not believe in the hereafter, we have prepared for them a painful punishment. And man supplicates for evil as he supplicates for good, and man is ever hasty. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.
Honorable President, respected national and international academics, journalists and officials, diplomats and dignitaries, students and members of the audience, Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of Pakistan Peace Collective, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, we welcome you to the first International Conference on Media and Conflict 2019, hosted at Bahria University and organized in collaboration with the Association of Media and Communication Academic Professionals, Bahria University Islamabad, Pakistan Television, Facebook, and Sama Digital. The International Conference on Media and Conflict is the first government-led academic initiative to highlight the Pakistani media's role in covering conflict and violence in the country. The conference will showcase the latest research on media discourse on extremism, terrorism, and violence in the country, and also assess how conflict reporting and peace journalism can be institutionalized both in the media industry and the university level across Pakistan. To discuss the importance of the conference, I would now like to invite the Chief Executive Officer, Pakistan Peace Collective, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Shabbir Anwar, to the stage to welcome the distinguished guests and participants.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Honorable President, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, Chairman, Islamic Ideology Council, Mr. Qibla Ayaz, Secretary, Ministry of Information, Mr. Shafqat Jaleel, Rector, Bahria University, Admiral Retired Muhammad Shafiq, respected diplomats, dignitaries, delegates, journalists and students, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. It is a great honor for me to welcome all of you at the first Conference of Media and Conflict 2019 on behalf of Pakistan Peace Collective, a research and communication project of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. I am extremely grateful to the Honorable President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, for gracing the inaugural session of this conference. Your presence here, Mr. President, is not only an evidence of your personal commitment, but also a reflection of our national resolve in combating violent extremism and ensuring peace in Pakistan and beyond. My special thanks to Qibla Ayaz, Chairman, Islamic Ideology Council, for his presence here today. His unflinching support and guidance has always helped us to effectively deliver on our mandate. I'm also obliged and need to appreciate the support extended by Rector Bahria University, Vice Admiral Muhammad Shafiq, the Pro-Rector Rear Admiral Nasir Mahmood, and Professor Dr. Siraj in facilitating to host this historic event. My sincerest thanks to all the national and international scholars and senior journalists who have traveled all the way from across the country and abroad to participate in this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference seeks to assess the media discourse on conflict emanating primarily from violent extremism and terrorism, both in Pakistan and globally. I view this conference as an extension of Pakistan Peace Collective's efforts of facilitating collaboration among relevant institutions and disseminating messages through various means of communication to promote our national narrative. This project regularly conducts research, and based on the findings, it not only identifies intervention gaps, but also designs various activities, including media campaigns for the ministry. Two of ministry's campaigns titled Hak Aqdar Tak to guide people on safer charity practices and Tourism Pakistan to enhance resilience of the people against the menace of violent extremism have shown positive results. Based on our research and close interaction with experts, professionals, and relevant organizations, this project prepared specific training modules and conducted over 34 training workshops for senior government officials and parliamentarians on how to interact with media during crises after any incident of terrorism. This program also includes training of journalists on how to cover incidents of violent extremism. Another initiative of our project is to reach out to the people at grassroots levels in various districts throughout the country to sensitize them on safer charity giving practices as well as repercussions of intolerance and violence. Mr. President, sir, ladies and gentlemen, my small team of devoted professionals and I are proud of our efforts in helping to develop the code of conduct for electronic media on how to cover incidents of violent extremism. I want to express my gratitude to Pakistan Federal Union of Journalists, senior anchors and renowned journalists from all over the country who helped us in finalizing this code. The same has been incorporated and notified by the ministry in the Media Code of Ethics. We are equally contented in developing a 3-credit-hour course on conflict coverage for the students of media studies departments of the universities. This course, I am pleased to share, has been introduced in a number of universities throughout the country. In this regard, I want to acknowledge the role and support extended by the Higher Education Commission, as well as senior journalists and academicians from all over Pakistan who worked closely with us. We are confident that this conference will further strengthen our efforts and resolve in redesigning our activities in fostering peace, harmony, and tolerance in the society. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference has brought together academic and media practitioners from across the country and the world to share their knowledge on the preferred role of media in conflict reporting. This engagement is particularly important because media has gained unprecedented significance, particularly in the process of conflict mitigation and resolution. Media has become more relevant in conflict due to its dominance to shape and influence opinion. We cannot but agree that any arising conflict in future would essentially require an effective role of media in shaping up the impact. This conference also seeks to bridge the disconnect between the media and academia. I believe academic research and studies on the role of media provide an invaluable feedback for reassessment and course correction. I hope that the knowledge created and shared here will not only benefit individual knowledge seekers, but also go a long way in helping us strategize our efforts towards conflict resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, while acknowledging the support of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting as host of this conference, and the help extended by all its attached departments, I would also like to mention about the immense help that we got from our event partners. I welcome and thank the representatives of our academic partners, the Association of Media and Communication Academic Professionals, and our media and digital partners, which include the Pakistan Television, Facebook, and Sama TV. I would also like to welcome and express my gratitude to the faculty and students of the Bahria University for their active support and keen participation in this event. Ladies and gentlemen, while concluding, I would once again like to welcome and thank the worthy guests, the Honorable President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, Chairman Islamic Ideology Council, and all the delegates and participants of this conference. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, Shabir Sahab. I would now like to invite the Rector, Bahria University, Vice Admiral Mohammad Shafiq, for his welcoming remarks.
Honorable President, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, His Excellency Dr. Arif Alvi, Excellencies, learned conference speakers, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. On behalf of Bahria University, it's indeed my profound privilege to extend a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests here at the opening session of the International Conference on Media and Conflict. I'm especially thankful to the Honorable President, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule and gracing the event as chief guest. We are also extremely delighted to host a galaxy of distinguished speakers and eminent media personalities from abroad and Pakistan. It is an honor for Bahria University to be one of the organizers of this prestigious conference under the umbrella of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference, in my view, is of vital importance in the context of present-day Pakistani socio-political environment. Electronic media in general and social media in particular has made tremendous inroads in our daily lives. There is no denying of fact that if media does not act with responsibility, then it is likely to lend itself to damaging the psychological well-being of a society. And if it persistently propagates things that are not based on ground realities, it would certainly lead to building negative perceptions of a country. Pakistan, alhamdulillah, after enormous sacrifices, has just started to come out of a prolonged war against terror, while still dealing with its social, economic, and psychological impacts on our citizens. The growing recognition of the crucial role the media in general has been playing in helping provoke and sustain conflicts has now led many to think and examine how the same media can also play a constructive role in resolution of conflicts and mitigating their adverse effects. Keeping in view the global outreach and strong effects of media on society, as well as on the policymakers, I think the time has come that mass media focuses on conflict resolution, and if I may say, must play the leading role of an agent of a peacemaker. Like the rest of the international community, we in Pakistan also wish to see a positive role of journalism in conflict resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, the global media industry has also gone through a digital revolution and witnessed an unprecedented level of technological development. The post-internet era has seen convergence of media amidst globalization. Today, social media and citizen journalism have become voice of the voiceless and neglected communities. Nevertheless, the mainstream media still carries significant importance in putting across national narratives and educating the masses on various issues like terrorism, sectarianism, nationalism, tolerance, human rights, etc., particularly in our context. I think it is the right time for us, the academicians, professionals, and researchers, to thoroughly look into the role of media in conflict and come up with workable strategies for policymakers. I am confident that the idea of peace journalism would become a valuable concept, and the proceedings of the conference sessions will certainly lead to tangible recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am thankful to all the worthy experts and learned scholars, particularly those from abroad, who have traveled all the way to attend this conference. We anxiously look forward to your valuable input, sir. I am sure that various sessions of this conference will offer innovative and out-of-the-box solutions to the resolution of conflicts in this region and beyond. Before concluding, allow me to congratulate Mr. Shabir Anwar and his team of Pakistan Peace Collective, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and also Head of Media Studies Department, Bahria University, Professor Dr. Syed Abdul Saraj and his team for successfully putting together this international conference on the important issue of peace journalism. In the end, I once again thank His Excellency, President of Pakistan, for gracing the occasion. Sir, your presence here is indeed an immense source of encouragement for all of us. I am also grateful to the honorable dignitaries and excellencies for sparing time to attend this conference. I thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our privilege to have the Honorable President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, as the chief guest for the inaugural ceremony of the conference. In honor of his presence, Pakistan Peace Collective, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and Bahria University, Islamabad will now present special shields to the President. I would now like to invite our chief guest, the Honorable President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, to grace the occasion and address the distinguished guests and participants of the conference.
Mohtaram Qibla Ayaz Sahab, Chairman Islamic Council of Islamic Ideology, Mia Shabir Anwar Sahab, Chief Executive Officer, Pakistan Peace Collective, Vice Admiral Muhammad Shafiq Sahab, Rector, Bahria University, parliamentarians, diplomats, delegates, dignitaries, journalists, and those who want to become journalists. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to address this august audience of top national and international scholars who have come here, who intend to speak here, and who intend to exchange ideas in the first international conference on media and conflict. I congratulate the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and its partners for conceptualizing and organizing this historic conference. And I have no idea how they got the timing correct, that there is a conflict emerging around, and we hope that we should be able to rationalize the situation and come into safer waters. It's been my lifelong study to understand conflict, and conflict not necessarily in terms in which you are trying to grapple it today. Conflict in terms of human nature, conflict in terms of relationship between people, conflict in terms of a family. And the fact, what was surprising to me in my younger days, is that people would interpret the same situation in different ways. And I could not understand why it was so different and so difficult. Somebody would look at the hand from this side and he would make a different description, and somebody would look at the hand from this side and have a different description. So the first struggle in my life was to understand why this happens. But it takes a lifetime to be able to understand human nature. Today, I understand it a little better. And what I believe now is that man and a woman, they have some software inputs which we learn from what we see all our lives, and that those inputs in certain times of our lives have a deeper input and a deeper understanding. And those of you who are parents here, the holes in which you have fallen in the ground, you try and educate your children to avoid those holes, to avoid those pitfalls. But what happens, it is life. The children find their own holes and their own pitfalls to fall in. So something you try and educate, and it carries to the next generation, but with lesser impact from what your own experience was like. I believe that we are born, we are emotional, we have an emotional structure. Our DNA is also emotional, partly rational and partly emotional. What I look at as a scene when I observe it, and what somebody else looks at a scene when he observes it or she observes it, is also related to my mood at that time. My bias, which is not a bad word because I live with those biases in life, I put people in compartments myself, and I put labels on those compartments: good, bad, average, and so many other labels which I want to put in: good looking, bad looking, rude, not rude. And I put people based on my experience and sometimes based on hearsay in those compartments. And when I'm talking about myself, I would like to project it to the family, and then to project it to groups, tribes, and then nations. And I have found what personally are my pitfalls are the pitfalls of almost every human being, and then of every tribe and every nation. It's very difficult. My romance with the fact that humanity is learning on these issues fell apart as I lived. In the 70s, when I was in the US studying there, I believed that this country is very rational. I believed that they've learned from Vietnam and they will not make mistakes again. And lo and behold, in the 80s and 90s, I saw that maybe that generation had learned, the next generation wants to learn the same way as we learn. We keep on making mistakes, we keep on learning. And the generation information which goes from one generation to the other is more of information of technology, know-how, words written down with their own problems of semantics. Words written down, the words they have been expressed and how we understand them. And people have always said the words matter less, the body language matters more. In the circumstances, the same word carries a different weight. And we interpret people based on the only form of communication we know, and that's the mouth. And those are the words. And then my expression with my hands and with my eyes. And maybe there is a humor in what I've said, and maybe there is not. Maybe the other person who's listening to me understands my mood and understands that this is a matter of humor, and it does not carry that much weight which the words would have carried. So there's a confusion around. There's a confusion in our own minds which will always be there. You will see an incident you will see your child making a mistake, you will react differently depending on your pressure, depending on your mood. Maybe you are tired from the whole day and your reactions will be different. So the same reactions then taken to other forums, taken to national forums, taken from the bias of life to the national forums is what then becomes important in decisions as far as nations are concerned. And I've seen mistakes. And let me pick up one mistake, for example, while we are discussing, it's a very important topic, conflict and the media. And as a case study, I would put forward to you, because the hysteria of war is easy. It can build up, but the dynamics of war sometimes goes beyond your control on how to manage it and how to handle it. The best example in my life, and some of you may have seen that, was the war in Iraq of weapons of mass destruction. And if you would like to look at history, there's a good book on that which is named Hubris. And it identified from what I've read, 5 major areas where people worked with a bias, misinformed the nation, and misinformed the world that the weapons of mass destruction exist. So that is where the media comes in. First there was a bias. First there was a fact, there was a history. All of a sudden, sometimes in personal conflicts, we find कि यार उसने उसको थप्पड़ मार दिया. अच्छा क्या था? हुआ ये था कि वहाँ ज़रा सी तकरार हुई. मगर फिर then you look at the background, and then investigators, for example, if a crime has been committed, no. There was a difference which happened 2 days ago. There was a difference between conflict which was brewing since the last 5 or 6 years between these family members. So the bias when weapons of mass destruction, the issue came around, was probably, it had genesis maybe 10 years before or longer before. So what was brought in? There were probably 4 or 5 such issues which were raised and which created confusion in the minds of the people of the world, minds of the people of the United States, minds of the people of UK, Europe, and the rest of the world. What was that? One was the information of aluminum pipes, that the aluminum pipes have been imported by Iraq, and all information, the specialists kept on saying that the diameter of these pipes cannot be used for centrifuges. The centrifuges spins uranium hexafluoride to enrich uranium from U-238 to enrich it to U-235. And that's what Pakistan had been doing. And those aluminum pipes which were not meant for that, and there were specialists who were saying these aluminum pipes do not have the diameter to be used as centrifuges, but it was said that Iraq has imported aluminum pipes. I'm no friend of whatever the regime was, but I'm telling you, media and conflict, how did media encourage that conflict? And the world believed it. That's what happens, when you tell a story, and what happens? What do the judges do? Judges hear a person themselves, and for taking care of the fact that how not only language but expression and seeing in the eyes, if a panel of judges, for example, is hearing a case, 3 judges are hearing, if one judge retires for any reason, the entire case is heard again, because the words alone will not carry enough information for the judges to make a judgment. So if a judge retires, the whole thing is restudied. So the information, that was the first piece of information. Then there was information that uranium was supplied to Iraq from an African country. And there were at the same time parallel sources of information which were denying that this never happened. But the issue was raised that the shipment had taken place. I don't remember the country, maybe it was Zambia. There was a third issue, and this is where conflict is encouraged by the media, because these leaks were given to the media. And the media helped create hysteria. And can you imagine how painful it is that a whole nation has been destroyed on an issue of weapons of mass destruction? Imagine what conflict has done. Millions of people. Iraq was, for example, 98% literacy. Iraq was not a righteous state. For people who remember history, Iraq was a Ba'athist state. Michel Aflaq, for example, was the founder of Baathism, and Iraq was a Ba'athist state. and then under these misinformations, and the media led to that conflict. The third thing was, there was an unreliable source which had said that one of the hijackers had met an Iraqi diplomat, probably in Germany or some country. And it was found underneath, underlined, the sub-notes also, in very small print, was somewhere the fact that it is not possible because the person you are accusing of from a photograph was not even went out of the United States, one of the 24 hijackers. So then there was an issue of drones. Iraq has drones and they can deliver weapons and they can manufacture a bomb within days. So I wanted to probe, for you to probe your own minds that it happened. It happened in democracies. It happened in states which claim that they are able to overcome this with good research, with good understanding, with good rationalization, that they can overcome that. And I'm telling you that all this was not a sazish totally. All this was then people falling into that bias depending on the misinformation which has been spread. The sources are many books, hubris is being one of them. Now, let me then talk about the role of the media. The media can be an observer or can be a player, and it happens. And it happens that media can all of a sudden become a player. And I remember during one of the incidents in Islamabad, there was this man with a gun and he had his wife, and I forget the name, Sikandar. And I was sitting in a talk show, and the anchor of the talk show, all of a sudden, had his call connected to Sikandar. And I said, what are you doing? I wrote a note. I said, what are you doing? You can't become a player. And you know what that person said? He was psychologically, there may have been any pressures on him or whatever. And he said that I am doing this for Islam. Can you imagine? You see, and had he not been overpowered on that day, the next day there would be some of Islamic defenders would have stood there with guns to defend him. It could have happened. So these misinformations come, then media becomes a player. So, but media is necessary. What is a reliable media? You know, let me tell you something very important. And most of us are Muslims sitting here. You believe in the Quran because the Prophet ﷺ narrated the fact that these are the ayahs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but the important part is that the people of that time believed the source, believed the messenger. The information came from the source, they believed the messenger. If you don't believe the messenger, for example, all the information is irrelevant. You see, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted man to believe in Islam, there would have been ayahs written like Hollywood is written on in California, on the mountains of Margala Hills, there would be that would have been ayahs written there, and we would have believed. But the source, the messenger brought the information, and the messenger was believed by the people then and is believed by the people now. And the first thing the messenger said when he got Allah Ta'ala subhanahu wa ta'ala contacted him, he came and he stood on a hill and he said, if I tell you that there's an army behind this hill, would you believe me? That was his introduction to the fact that now this is the information. You have to believe me. Like the press today, they have to establish that credibility, that what they are proposing and what they are saying is beyond doubt. So the Prophet said, would you believe me? And the people said, yes, we will believe you. Why will you believe me? Because you have been an Ameen. We can trust you. All your life, you have carried the amanat and trust and you have never lied. So that is the credibility of the person, messenger, bringing the information. And that is the credibility which we expect from the media. But it will not happen. Let me tell you at the same time, though I am hopeful that we will learn, we'll come out of our biases. I can't come out of my biases. The information which I have had all my life, the incidents which I have seen, the pain which I have felt, the pleasure which I have felt is unique to me. I cannot communicate it to you. I can inform, I can try and reduce that information to the 8,000 words of English which I may know, or to the 5,000 words of Urdu which I may know, But the incidents and the things I have seen will require millions and millions of bytes of information, and even then I will not be able to communicate to you the real feeling which I had. So information and my own feeling. So my bias will always be there. And when you look at judges even in Pakistan or elsewhere, when you look at the judges of the US Supreme Court, people debate the fact beforehand that this judge is tilted to the left, this judge is tilted to the right. That doesn't mean that they're wrong. That just means that bias can never leave the human body. It will always be there. But let not that bias spoil the lives of other people. And that is where I must tell you, today is very important. Today it is important because the hysteria has created around our borders. And I remember, for those of you, most of you are not old as I am, Ayub Khan wrote a book, Friends Not Masters. And I still remember, I read it in the late 60s when I was an intermediate in college. And Friends Not Masters had an incident which Ayub Khan quoted, and he said that I went to Germany, and I don't remember the name, and he met the Chancellor of Germany, and he said, the Chancellor mentioned the fact, which is very important, that if you have weapons, the weapons will find expression, purely, simply. And he said, if you have weapons and if you have big armies, they will find some expression. And that seems to be true today, that a hysteria has been created on an issue, and it will find expression. They will look for an outlet to handle that hysteria. They have themselves created the hysteria. There was no reason to blame Pakistan, and Pakistan made a statement again and again. In fact, the Prime Minister of Pakistan expressed what the people of Pakistan felt, that there must be peace between India and Pakistan. And that was communicated to them in simple terms. And what was the reaction? That they did not trust. The response was a belligerent response, and they did not trust what the Prime Minister had said. And then an incident of terror happens. Incident happens in India. And all of a sudden, the whole blame is placed on Pakistan, and the hysteria is created in India. And I've been to India so many times, I understand the media. When it comes to Pakistan, the media and some parties, for political reasons or for other reasons, create a hysteria, which now they're looking for to find some expression to convince their people that we have done something. And it's a dangerous game. It's a brinkmanship, which can lead to war, and lead to war situation coming around. Pakistan wants peace. Pakistan has insisted. Every expression from Pakistan, with the new government especially, has been for peace, and with all the other governments have been looking for peace. Nobody in the history of Pakistan, no leadership in the history of Pakistan has ever called for anything other than peace and the resolution of the Kashmir dispute. The other thing, ladies and gentlemen, which will come across in your lives, which will be troublesome today, is fake news. And fake news is becoming more and more important with the passing time. Today, there's ability to create everything fake, you know, from the fact that reproduce the tone of my language, my face, and bring out that kind of fake news which you may have to trust, or which you will trust. And it happens all the time. And it's a battle. I don't know how will the future generations, or immediately in the next 5 or 10 years, we will fight and we will handle it. And there's a social media. Yesterday it was small news, you know. It went out by words, by exchanging, by talking. And today the social media spreads that information very fast. And in conflict situations in societies, especially in India, for example, incidents have happened that somebody has been blamed for cow slaughter, or somebody, and all of a sudden the news spreads on the media, on the social media, and there is a reaction where people are killed and people are mutilated. So that's a dangerous thing, and I don't have any solution, but I do understand. When Pakistan, my party, when I was in politics, I'm still in politics as a president, but not in hands-on politics. So when I was the Secretary General of my party, And every time I went onto the television, onto a talk show, people would tell me that this is happening on social media and on Twitter, and people are fighting. And I used to tell them that this social media is like a chai khana, where people from whatever backgrounds will make a statement and walk away without caring about the fact that what their bias or what their words were, how much pain they would cause. And people have gotten used to it. But at a bigger level, at a higher level, when you are blaming countries, when you're blaming leaders with fake news, that becomes a very dangerous thing. So I consider your conference very important. I thank the speakers who have come here. It's not an easy task. We can keep on struggling, we can keep on trying. There is no way we can change our entire DNA. You see, life is lovely with love among the people. And life is dangerous when we have phobias. And all of us have phobias. All of us live with phobias. You see, some person who we don't like, and he mentions something, and we start thinking that behind these words there's an intent which is dangerous. And there's conflict within the family and conflict between nations. So you are on a, let me give you a lesson from what, not a lesson, I can't give you a lesson, a lesson for me which I have tried to use. Do you know ghibat in Islam is very much discouraged. And why is it discouraged? It is discouraged because a narrative has been built on what somebody heard. And from those words, they are communicated behind somebody's back to somebody else. And like I said in my talk a few moments ago, just words do not convey the feeling actually what has happened. The body language, the surroundings, in what context it was mentioned, all that. And therefore, Islam discourages ghibat. Very frequently, in my life, in the last few years, people would tell me, you know, आपको मालूम है, मैंने उसकी बात record कर ली है, और मैं सुनाता हूँ आपको. Acha, how ridiculous. You know, you should never hear that. You should never do that. You see, because if you record, you should tell somebody that I've recorded your voice. He doesn't know. The choice of words which I use for my parents, for example, in front of my, narrating the same incident, in front of my parents, the choice of words would be different. The choice of words sitting here with the television recording it would be different. And I'm very careful now because occasionally my humor is taken in a different context. So the choice of words when I'm speaking there is important. The choice of word among friends is different. An occasion is different. If somebody is not present, I can speak about him with a little amount of carelessness compared to this person being there. The choice of words can be different. So what happens in this ghibat, then it spoils the relationship. It has been communicated out of context, and therefore, ladies and gentlemen, your personal lives, I must insist you to follow what the Prophet's teaching was. The Prophet's teaching was darguzar, maaf karna, forgiveness. The forgiveness is there because of the fact that you can't understand everything about the other person. Let it go. कहा होगा उसने, कोई बात नहीं, उसका तकलीफ में होगा, परेशान होगा, उसने कह दिया, मैं उसका बोझ लेकर जिंदगी भर नहीं चलूंगा. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot of things to learn like me. I have a lot of things to learn. But keep in mind, live a life of compassion, live a life of understanding, give room to other people, give room to their ideas. And violence by itself is a situation where we are not able to control that. Today, let me tell the world, and I've been saying that, and this is an important occasion for things to go out into the press. Today, let me tell you that the resolve of the armed forces of Pakistan has been very strong. This is the armed force which has stopped terrorism. This is a message beyond this audience. My armed forces have stopped terrorism. My armed forces are the most experienced as far as terrorism is concerned. My armed forces can teach the world how to handle it. They've laid down their lives on doing this. So let nobody in the region or anywhere else even think about the fact they can harm my country. We are a people protected by our armed forces, and we know how to protect our nation. We don't have any bad intention to any other country. But we know how to defend ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and we will insist. Thank you very much.